Hi everyone and welcome back to today's technical analysis video on cryptocurrencies. I'm Chris and I'm a trader and technical analyst, and I've been analyzing and trading cryptocurrencies and stocks for more than 10 years now, and I'm happy to share my expertise with you guys today. In this video, I want to talk about several coins, including Bitcoin and various altcoins, including Ethereum, Litecoin, and Cardano. Let's start with Bitcoin. And last week, we've been talking about this ascending triangle formation here. And as you can see here, we saw this predicted breakout here. And then we saw this rally that was triggered by the CPI data release, which was better than expected. And investors were really enthusiastic. This enthusiasm, however, was broken on the next day when there was the Fed speech, and the Fed said that there would be further interest rate hikes throughout the next year. And this set the Bitcoin price back to this level, to this support line here at around 17.4K. And after that, markets were triggered by the Binance crash fears. I'm sure you've all heard about it. And this is currently causing fear in the market. And this has set back the Bitcoin price to 16.5K. And currently it's at 16.7K. Let's stay in the 4-hour chart and see what's happening here. So for this, I'm going to clean all my drawings, and we are going to look at the 4-hour chart with RSI and the Bollinger Bands. So what we can see here is similar to what was happening on 21st of November. We saw this RSI dropping to the oversold zone, meaning below 30. And from there, we saw a reversal that put Bitcoin into this slight uptrend. So how is the situation now? The RSI is, as I mentioned last time, a good indicator of when support is going to kick in. And at this point, we see support here that was at 16.5K. And since then, we're seeing this sideways movement. Besides the RSI that indicated we have seen support here, there is another indicator, and that's, of course, you've seen it last time as well, the Fibonacci retracements, which are, especially in these sideways consolidation phases, very good to determine whether you can see support here. And as you see, there has been support at this golden Fibonacci, the 61.8 Fibonacci. And from there, we saw this bounce and a consolidation on this level. And the second indicator we're looking at is the Bollinger Bands. And we've talked about this last time as well. So this is the Bollinger Bands 20. And Bitcoin has touched the lower Bollinger Bands and has now left the lower band and is now approaching the middle band again. So the first takeaway message now I want to share with you is that we have found some sort of support, and we're going to analyze how valid and how strong this support will be in the near future. For this, let's look at the previous lows. And as you can see here, we are still in this uptrend formation where we are forming higher lows. And for now, this support level here is looking quite good. The same thing can be observed when we look at this chart here. Also, this is the 4-hour chart now, and we see the moving averages. We've been talking about this last time as well. So you see the very short, the MA5, which has now crossed the MA10. And this means that we now see a gentle uptrend here in this area again. Let's now take a look at another indicator that I also like very much when it comes to trading, because it can show you short and midterm trends very well. And this is the MACD. We also leave it to the default settings here and stay on the 2-hour chart. And we see this crossing here of the signal lines. And now at the moment, there's an uptrend in this short time frame here. So this also shows us that we are in a slight uptrend at the moment, and this can also be seen on the 4-hour chart where the signal line crossing is about to happen. But, and I said it at the beginning of the video, markets are very volatile at the moment. This would be the second conclusion. Bitcoin is in an uptrend since this recent drop here. And now the question is, where are the most important support and resistance levels? For this, we are zooming in again and we jump to the 2-hour chart again. And you can see here that the very short-term resistance level would be this here. So at 16.8K US dollars. And the second very important resistance level would be this level here at 16,900 US dollars. So these two levels will be the most important short-term resistances and will be important for Bitcoin to jump over these levels. But I've said it at the beginning of the video, it's currently a very volatile situation. And if we see more bad news next week, there could be a continuation of this most recent downtrend. And then it's important to ask yourself, where are the next support levels? Next support levels would, of course, be the old support here in this area. And you can see it's this trading range here that we saw in November. And if Bitcoin breaks this support level here, the next support zone would be this one here at around 16,000 US dollars. And if this zone is also broken, then a retest of the old lows at 15,400 US dollars would be possible. Okay, so what are the takeaway messages from this chart here? Let's once more jump to a different time frame to get a better impression of what's happening in detail. So we jump to the daily chart, and the MACD, which is still open here, is about to cross bearish. This means that it's likely that we see this retest of this support level here, and that it's crucial that we hold this level, because otherwise we might then probably see a retest of this level. The second thing I want to point out is again the RSI, which has corrected to this level here of 43 and is now in this sideways movement. And of course, you can see it here. And this means that Bitcoin is on the daily chart not really oversold. And if we see more fear in the markets, that there would be a reset of the Bitcoin price to an area where the RSI drops below 30. As you can see, it really helps to switch between the time frames a little bit. And the last thing I want to show you is the weekly time frame, because that's also very important. And what we see here is this candlestick with this long wick and a very small body. And this is called a shooting star. And shooting stars are usually reversal candlesticks that we see after uptrends, and they indicate, especially on the weekly time frame, that there might be a downtrend or a correction. So again, it's likely that we see a retest of these support levels here or here, although I think that this golden Fibonacci, the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement, should provide some good support at the moment here. So you can see next week will be very exciting and very eventful, and it's important for you guys to watch these crucial support levels that I just showed you. Let's now move on to the next coins, and these are the altcoins. And before we start with any specific coin, I want to show you the altcoin chart and the altcoin market cap. And to start, we stay in this weekly time frame, and you can see altcoins are forming new lows. And this is called the falling wedge formation. And falling wedge formations per se are bullish reversal patterns. Although keep in mind what I just told you about Bitcoin. So this means that we could, of course, retest this trend line. At the moment, there's a support on the weekly time frame, and we now jump into the daily chart and see what's happening here. And there we see something similar, that there's support at around 75 billion US dollars, although this of course needs to be confirmed on a larger time frame as well. Also, the overall trading volume is decreasing. We have seen this for Bitcoin as well. And this again means that the selling pressure is decreasing at the moment. When we now look at the RSI, you remember for Bitcoin, we've seen a reset in this area here, which is at 43. And for altcoins, we see that there was in fact a drop to below 30. So this is one of the support levels. And you can also see this here. There was a support here before we saw this drop. And again, support here in this region. So in summary, there are several reasons to believe that we are seeing support for the altcoin market cap here, which is of course a good indicator or good sign for any specific altcoin, because if altcoins are in a continued downtrend, it will be very difficult for any specific coin to make a significant move up. So at least from this chart perspective, that's a good sign for next week. We jump into the 4-hour chart now, and you can see here that altcoins are retesting these levels at the moment. If you look at RSI and MACD, you will see for both that there's a bullish signal line crossing ahead. So after this drop, of course, that's a horrible chart here, but for now it doesn't look too bad, and it looks like there could be an area that might provide some solid support here for altcoins. Now, if we zoom out a little bit, you might find that this support area here is a bit random, that it's somewhere in nowhere, because we don't see any previous lows here. It's in fact a new low, but I'm telling you it's not. It's just not a very recent low, but it's an important marker here. And we jump back to the weekly chart. I'm going to switch to the logarithmic scale. So what you see now is that altcoins are in fact near these levels where it was in 2018, near the old all-time high, and usually these peaks provide solid support levels. And unless there are no bad news next week that push altcoins lower, I think that this support level will hold. So this being said, let's jump into the first altcoin chart, and this is Ethereum. So we're once again now in the 4-hour chart, and of course Ethereum also made this move to this level here and is now consolidating like Bitcoin is at the moment. So obviously the crucial support here is $1,100 at this level when we saw this drop here. So it's very similar to Bitcoin, and let's take a look at the Fibonacci retracements, and you will find here that it's a bit different to Bitcoin because the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement is in fact a bit higher, and it's more like Ethereum is oscillating around this support level here. So the actual support is at this level, which I just showed you, and further support levels will then be here, and then of course at this level here. At the moment, it doesn't look like we really go and retest these levels, but rather these levels here at $1,160. But of course, if the crypto sentiment worsens, then we might see a retest to these levels here. And this is confirmed. If we jump to the daily chart, you can see that's similar as for Bitcoin. So and if you now look at the RSI on the daily time frame, you will find that there's still a lot of space until we reach the oversold zone, where I would expect a really solid bounce in case the sentiment is really bad next week due to, for example, some bad news. This being said, it's not necessary that we retest these levels, and I've said this for Bitcoin as well. It's for now still an uptrend with higher lows, or at least here with equal lows here, and this will all depend on various factors next week. Last week I've also talked about Litecoin, and the Litecoin setup was looking really bullish. And of course, as it is most of the times, if there's some uncertainty in the market due to some bad news, corrections are really hard if there has been a pump before. And I've shown you Litecoin has pumped over 80% before, and Litecoin has corrected to this zone here, and the local bottom was at $62. We zoom in, and here on the daily chart you will also find that this level at $62 is approximately again the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. So for now this looks like some solid support, but you can see that the whole downtrend level here doesn't seem to have stopped. So I think it's likely that there could be another retest of these previous lows. And from here, it will then depend on the whole market sentiment and on the developments in terms of the Binance crash fears. Let's clear the chart and jump into the 4-hour chart again. Let's zoom out once more, and here you can see that the 4-hour RSI really resetted to a very low level, which was 15, which is very unusual, and is still below the 30 threshold. So we're still in a short-term oversold area, which is another indicator for a bottom formation here in this area. If this downtrend is continued and this support level is broken, where would be the next support levels here? And this would definitely be this area at 60 US dollars, then 55 and 47 US dollars respectively. I don't expect Litecoin to go that deep. As I said, I think there might be a retest of this level, but from here we should see a stabilization after this correction, which was more than 20% in the past days. I've previously shown you that I also look at moving averages and especially the EMA in this short-term time frame, because EMAs, the exponential moving averages, are really good for showing short-term price movements. And I'm going to again look at the EMA 9 and the EMA 50. So EMA 9 is the green one and the red one is the EMA 50 on the 4-hour chart. And we still see here has been this bearish cross. And since then, there's no new real uptrend formation on the 4-hour chart. And we now jump on the 1-hour chart. And here we see something similar. At least we see here that the EMA 9 is coming closer to the EMA 50. And here on the 30-minute chart, we see that there has almost been a cross. So this would have been a short-term, very short-term uptrend signal, but this has been rejected. So we jump back to the 4-hour chart and we can see that there's still some way to go for this support area here to be confirmed. And for an uptrend, we really need a crossing of these two signal lines. On this chart, I also want to show you two indicators that make me confident that this level could be, in fact, a level where local bottom could be. So that is the stochastic RSI. And similar to the RSI, you have an overbought and oversold zone. And at the moment, we are in this area where there's a bullish signal line crossing. So this could mean that we are in a similar situation like we were here when we saw this uptrend, or after this correction here where there was this uptrend. So this could in fact mean that there's a local bottom here and a further uptrend, because the overall bullish formation is still intact. I told you that corrections often go until the 61.8 Fibonacci retracements, and from there it goes higher, and this could be something that we see here as well. And this fits to the stochastic RSI finding that we see here. The last coin I want to talk about with you is Cardano. So Cardano is one of the coins that looks horrible on the long-term chart. So we see the daily chart here and we see this constant downtrend. Of course, you can also trade downtrends, and these can be very beneficial for you if you hit the low. And there you can see, for example, that there are pumps within a few days of like 50%, or here we saw a pump of 46% or 36%. So that's why I want to talk about Cardano with you as well, because despite the fact that the overall chart looks very bad at the moment, there could be some local bottom at the moment here. And for this, I'm going to zoom in and we are going to look at another very important indicator. And this indicator is the ADX, or the average directional index. In summary, the ADX is an indicator that makes use of a positive and a negative directional index and combines it with a trend line. The indicator can then tell you if there's an upcoming trend to either direction, so to the downside or to the upside, and it's oscillating between two extremes. So if it's either low or high, that could both mean that we go up or down, but it really is a good indicator to tell you that there's a change of direction incoming. So at the moment, this ADX indicator is quite high at the moment. And we are also going to have a look at the RSI, which I told you is very helpful in these situations as well. And here we can also see that the RSI on the daily time frame is in the oversold zone, which is also here in this range where we saw this uptrend. And here we had, for example, an uptrend of 33%. I'm not saying this is going to happen here as well, but it's at least a situation where I wouldn't be surprised if we see a V-shaped recovery here back to this zone, which is at around 30 cents. But at the moment, as I told you, it is a clear downtrend that we see here. But you can see that at least there are some levels of local support before we see the next downtrend, which is, for example, here in this area. But if we zoom out a little bit, we will find that there is this area here in January 21, where we also saw some local support here in this area. So this means that there could at least be some reversal, which is here, then with this line being the resistance level. But a really bullish reversal would only occur if we saw Cardano breaking this trend line here and then would be jumping over this resistance level here as well, which would be at 42 cents. In my opinion, trading Cardano at the moment is quite risky because we don't really see an end to the downtrend. But as I said, it could be that we see a reversal here like we did before in these areas. And therefore we looked at ADX and RSI, which means that there could be some reversal to this local resistance here. And if we take a look at the moving averages, you can also find here that we see a crossing on the 4-hour chart of the MA5 above the MA10, which is short-term bullish signals. This slight uptrend, of course, needs some more confirmation. And the next step would be that the MA5 crosses also the MA20, which would then be a bullish signal that could push Cardano back above this 28 cent level, which is the first local resistance before this 30 cents resistance here. And with this, I want to end this video and hope to see you all next week. And if you trade any cryptocurrencies next week, I hope that this analysis has been of help for you. So for now, this is it. Goodbye, take care, and see you next week.